Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Gary A. Swaby, and you're now listening to our Avengers Endgame spoiler review discussion thingy that we're doing. So, everyone probably knows by now, but Avengers Endgame opened with 1.2 billion dollars, like at the box office, which is crazy. Is breaking all sorts of records at the moment, and I'm sure, like, I'll be surprised actually if there's anyone in the world who hasn't seen it yet. We actually have someone like that here today, but yeah, um, Avengers Endgame. I'm here. We actually assembled an Avengers team of our own to do this show. So I'm here with a lot of people right now. Of course, I'm here with Mr. Richard Bailey Jr. How you doing, Rich?
Doing good, Gary. What's up, listeners and viewers?
Right, right. And we're also here with Miss Dana Abercrombie. How you doing, Dana?
Hey, I'm doing fine.
Good, good. We're here with Mr. Tony Polanco,
Yo, yo, what's going on? What's going on? What's going zones?
and we're here with my dude Carlos Romero.
Yo, 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 what up, what up, what up?
We got Reggie. What's up, Reggie?
Avengers Assemble.
We got Austin. How you
So
doing, Austin?
how you doing?
It's been a while.
Likewise.
And we've got Mr. Robert Workman. How you doing,
I
Robert?
am inevitable.
Awesome. So yeah,
Yep.
that's the whole cast right there. There's a lot of plot details to get into, but firstly, I'm just gonna go around the board and see what everyone's initial thoughts and feelings are about Avengers Endgame. And I'm gonna go to you first, Austin, because when you said you wanted to be on this show, I had, I had no idea that you hadn't even seen the film. So I'm wondering, why are you here right now? And why aren't you at the cinema watching Endgame right now? Like, what's up, Austin?
Well, I'm gonna hit you up with this. Buddy of mine, who shall remain nameless, is a boom op, and he is good friends with special effects houses. So I knew about Steve Rogers going back in time in October of last year. When you're in the industry, people talk about scenes, and I know NDAs seem uh, airtight, but I had an idea of, this guy gave me a 2 hour breakdown of what happened back in November. So I was spoiled quite some time ago. I will catch it when work finally eases up a bit. But yeah, I was in the know for a bit. It turned out to be right, and it sounds like it's pretty compelling.
Okay, so my man Austin, he's connected. You're still out there in LA, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah, I know you were doing a lot of film stuff, with your studies and everything. So I guess you get a lot of like insider gossip. But so you do know that we're about to blow this movie wide open and talk about everything, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, and you're okay with that?
Yes, sir. Like I said, I heard all the deets back in October. I know what went down.
I
Okay.
feel like we're about to explain, like, is Santa Claus real to an 8-year-old? That's what I feel like right now. I don't know.
You better sit down for this. This is going to be some heavy shit.
This is gonna hit you like a load of bricks.
Okay, I mean, I guess you'll have that perspective from someone who hasn't actually seen it yet. So maybe you can throw out some questions here and there, just while we're talking about the different plot points and stuff. But yeah, good to have you here anyway. But Mr. Carlos Romero, what were your initial thoughts about Avengers Endgame? How many times have you seen it? And just let us know what you're feeling right now.
Yo, I've only seen this movie once. Unfortunately, I've been wanting to see it more, at least 3 times before the weekend was over. But I am a faithful uh, person to Alamo Drafthouse, and all of those tickets were sold out for the whole weekend in my area. So I've only seen it once, and yeah, my general thoughts is this movie came up with a lot of hype. It's probably the hypest movie to ever come out in the history of cinema, and it lived up to all the expectations. It's crazy how the culmination of all these films, I think 22 films, led up to this point. This is definitely a great closer, a great series finale, maybe season finale. It's the close of a chapter, and it's sort of emotional just thinking about it with all these characters that you spent with the past couple of years, a freaking decade, and yeah, man, the action, the story, that had surprises. It had a lot of fan service and well used fan service, not fan service, not cheap fan service where they use it to just get a random reaction from people. But it was fan service that was used right. It was well deserved, and yeah, I love this movie, man.
Right, right. So like, would you say that this movie, because I've seen this has been like a topic of discussion for me since since I saw Torrance tweet this actually. But do you think this film is better than Infinity War? Because Infinity War was kind of that peak, you know. So does this movie top it for you?
I think so. I think there are two completely different movies. Infinity War was more of a cohesive sort of film. It was just straight to the point. Uh, this movie was just something different, and I'm glad that they didn't make this Infinity War Part Two, because it really isn't. This is just something that stands alone within that whole Avengers storyline, and yeah, I definitely have this ahead of it. I mean, this made me more emotional. I think it had the most epic fight scene I've ever seen um, in movies, I think, and yeah, there was just more payoff for the characters that I was attached to. So yeah, I definitely think uh, Endgame is better than Infinity War. By how much? I'm still not sure. I still need more time to digest it. It's only been a couple of days, um, but only time will tell. And so far, maybe I'm just still in that emotion of Endgame, and then the hype of Endgame that puts that over the top over Infinity War, and that might change. But just at this moment, the Sunday after the movie came out, this is just how I'm feeling right now.
Okay, cool, interesting. So how about you, Reggie? How many times have you seen it? What's your initial thoughts? I mean, you were about to cry a minute ago, so I mean, I gotta hear this. Like,
Um, well, the movie is definitely an excellent movie. Just in the days after watching it, I was talking to Rich and Tony, as we always do in our DMs off the Twitter streets. But as a kid growing up, in 1986, a movie had came out. Right, I was 6 years old at the time, and I didn't see the movie until years later. And hold on one sec. Let me get my thoughts together. And I wouldn't know the levity of those words until I seen the movie, and then now having grown up watching the Avengers movie, right, from beginning to end. And there's some lyrics in the song that goes, where's it at? Something's evil watching over you, coming from the skies above, and there's nothing we can do. If you know the first lines of those songs or those lyrics, it's from Transformers, the animated movie, dropped in 1986. And I say that to say this: when I think about it, right? Like I said, I never understood the levity of the words. Everybody knows that Optimus Prime ultimately died in the movie, although he did come back. But living through this, haven't lived through the generation of Star Wars, and when I was 28 when first Iron Man came out, and I'm 38 years old, right? And having gone through all these movies and getting to this point, to Endgame, just really, it did something to me. It did something to my core, because I felt like, even though we know the characters aren't real, you felt like they were part of your family, part of your life, man. And it's just amazing, man. Like, I can't really describe it. I can't really put it into words. I'm sure we're going to get into details because this is a spoiler cast. But like I told Tony and Rich, man, it's already final. Endgame is has taken the #1 spot for me in my ranking from Captain America: Civil War, hands down. There is no, I mean, not Civil War, Winter Soldier. There is no. It they set the Russo brothers. They set a new bar in my opinion, man. Yeah, I mean, going into it, I knew things were going to happen, but I didn't know it was going to be. I didn't know it was going to wreck me like I did, man. Like I didn't know the movie was going to wreck me like I like like that. It's if you haven't seen it, go see it. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's awesome.
That's deep, man. That's deep. So how about you, Robert? What's your initial thoughts after seeing Endgame?
Well, I've only seen it once so far. I saw it in IMAX Thursday night. I am trying to go later tonight after I do that stuff with Game of Thrones and hockey. My analogy is like this. Last year's Infinity War was definitely an epic piece, but it felt like this generation's The Empire Strikes Back. It painted this picture of evil winning. Because, when that last frame was on Thanos there, we did not expect, that bomb to be dropped on us. We wanted, some sense of hope, and we did get that with the post-credits. But, when that happened, a lot of people were thrown for a loop. And with that, this year's Endgame feels like, I want to say Return of the Jedi, but to me, it's more on the level of, Return of the King, the Lord of the Rings finale there. And that is because of its epic scale. Not only does it bring everything to a satisfying close, but it does so in the best way possible. I mean, I probably can only think of one or two minor quibbles about how the movie came across with certain people. But other than that, the writers, the directors, the actors, everybody just came together, and, the special effects are amazing. And it all just really tied together like a bunch of different things from different movies. It brought things back full circle with certain mentions, with certain things from the comics. It's the kind of depth of filmmaking that we really don't see much of anymore, done on such an epic scale. Kevin Feige, whatever he gets paid to do this producing stuff, he just earned it big time. I mean, this was an incredible buildup over 11 years' time, and the movie's just won me over big time. I can't wait to see it again, in IMAX or wherever I go to see it. I'll even go to the Draft House now because I don't have to worry about holding it to go to the bathroom anymore. Thank God. But I just really feel like this is the payoff that a lot of Marvel fans have been patiently waiting for, and there's something here for everybody. I feel bad, like I said, we're going to spoil it for Austin here, because really there's only one way to experience it, and that is on the big screen. That's the way to go. I've talked to a couple of friends who are afraid to see it because they're afraid to see how everything goes down. And you're like, oh, spoil it. And I'm like, I loved when Deadpool showed up, and of course it's fake, but whatever. I just think seeing it on the big screen, that's the experience. And I think it's something that a lot of people should take in, because this is one of those movies. I think the only time I really felt like this in terms of epic scale was when 2012's Marvel's The Avengers opened, because it was also a film worth experiencing on the big screen. I mean, you could watch it on TV at home, sure, but I think seeing that kind of epic scale, seeing how everything started to come together with the picture, and then, coming 7 years later, back to Endgame, and how it's an even bigger stakes, and how it's even bigger conclusion, and how everything is way bigger. It's just really something. So yeah, I mean, I can't wait to see it again. It's a phenomenal film. It's my favorite Marvel film to date, and it's going to take a lot to top it.
Yo, man, there's only two places you can never watch this movie, and that's on the big screen and on Hip Hop Gamers TV.
Check out this. Yeah, check out what he does here, dog. Look at that.
Shout out to Hip Hop Gamer, man. But yeah, well said, Robert. So Dana, you were the first among us to see Endgame. So definitely let us know, what your experience was like and what you thought after seeing the movie.
Yeah, I saw Endgame a while ago, and I have to again thank Rich for that, because that wouldn't have been possible without him. Here's the thing. I went through a whole roller coaster of emotions where I overthink things, and you know how you look into something and think that this is going to happen or something else is going to happen, and there's all these theories and clues and things that you're looking for and expecting. And then it didn't have any of that, so I was kind of confused and slightly deflated. But then I sat back and I realized this is, again, like the previous movie, this is the Avengers story. This isn't Doctor Strange's story or Spider-Man or anyone who else who's stuck in the Soul Stone story. This is the Avengers. And once I realized that, I thought it was literally the best way to bookend their entire series, going back from the first the first Avengers, and going back to Iron Man. I thought that this was a movie that showed so much growth and progression of Iron Man's character. And because of that, I appreciated it so much more. Now, unlike you guys, I don't think it was perfect. I'm not, hysterically crying over it. I've seen it once. I'll see it again when it comes on Disney Plus. But I thought it was very beautifully made, beautifully shot. The acting was, they did what they did with the acting. But that last battle scene was really just so superb. And I loved every little aspect of it. And that's the one thing, if I did go to see it in the theater, which I won't, I would want to just see that battle scene again, because I feel that there were so many different moving parts that you would miss certain things. And I just truly felt that they outdid themselves. And I look forward to what's going to come later on. But I just feel that this was just a great way for the phase, what are we, phase 4? No, it doesn't end until like the Far From Home is phase 4, but like phase 3. So it's not the end of phase 3 because we still have Spider-Man, but it's just a perfect way to end the Avengers story. So, yeah.
Indeed. So how about you, Tony?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because, like, basically these movies to me are like seeing, comic books in real form. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I grew up with the comics first, right? So, and those always have these long interconnected storylines that take years to pay off and stuff. So it was very interesting. And I'm going back to the original, like, Avengers, seeing like 5 movies that all culminated in one. You've never seen anything like that, but obviously, if you've been reading the books, you see that shit all the time. So this was pretty much a culmination of all these 22 movies. Very, like, they pulled it off so well. And it's kind of interesting how, all these other Hollywood movies are trying to, try to jump on that bandwagon, that Marvel, magic or whatever, and they can never nail it right because they try to rush it. Marvel Studios, they always took their sweet time. And, because of the fact that it took so long to get there, it's really satisfying. You can't just make a movie like this as a one solid movie. You need to have that entire experience. You need to see all those movies in order to really grasp it. And I really think they pulled it off. I really think this movie, and I know some people are out there comparing this to Infinity War. I see it differently. To me, Infinity War and Endgame are the same movie, just split in two. It's the same exact movie. Just it's like watching The Fellowship of the Ring and then you watch Two Towers. It's still the same movie. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I'm kind of seeing it. Even though I did enjoy, I guess, more of the scenes in Endgame, just because there was so much fan service, so much callback to all these movies. Again, if you've been watching them since the beginning, you see all those references and you see how they tie it all together. I just love the second act where they go back in time and you get to see all these scenes from the other movies from different perspectives. That was great. And you get to see all these character moments that, again, they've been building up forever, and you get to see them pull it off, man. It's so good. But the only complaint I have about this movie, and it's going to sound crazy because the movie's 3 hours, I wish it was longer. I left that theater. I'm like, whoa, that was it? Like, I need more. Give me another 2 or 3 hours here, bro. Like it was like, that's the only complaint I have, because I wanted some more characters to get a little bit more shine, like Star-Lord or whatever. Like, yo, come on, we got to get a little something here. Because as far as I'm concerned, this may sound a little wacky too. To me, this is like the final MCU movie. I know there's more coming, I understand, but to me, this is the final one. Like, everything that comes after this, you cannot even compare it. And if this would theoretically be the final one, I think that's a hell of a way of a send-off, man. This may possibly not, I mean, obviously there's better movies out there, but this may be like the greatest like genre movie of all time. It's fantastic. But again, when I say that, I'm also including Infinity War, because they're really one film together. Fucking awesome. I loved it.
Yo, Tony, this is how I feel about this section of the MCU. It's like the original Star Wars trilogy. You know, like there's prequels and there's sequels, but the original three, it's like those are like what you gravitate to, and like you don't know if the next couple of MCU movies are going to be great or not, but we have this to fall upon, and they just ended it like amazingly.
Yeah, you're right. Like no matter what happens, if theoretically speaking they fuck it up, we'll always have this. We'll always have this. Yeah, obviously it's not perfect. No movie's perfect, but this quote unquote perfect thing, this is fantastic. I don't think anything in even cinema period is ever going to be able to top this. This is incredible. But who knows? Maybe in 20 years we'll see something. But right now, nothing's touching the shit. Like I know it sounds stupid to say it because even I don't like saying it, but yeah, it is kind of like this generation Star Wars, which is interesting because I was around when actual Star Wars was the thing, so it's kind of crazy, man. All right, yeah, that's all I had to say about that.
All right, cool. And Mr. Richard Bailey, how about you?
Well, I'm pretty much going to echo a lot of what was already said from everybody else. I thought the film was excellent. I very much enjoyed the callbacks, and I have to give a shout out to Mr. Tony Polanco because he reminded me that's what the word was when I was trying to think of a way to articulate what I enjoyed about it. But yeah, the callbacks were great. I do agree with the statement that was made that it's going to be hard to make another MCU film that tops this because this was an event that they were building for 11 years. So I did think it was the perfect way to end the Avengers storyline. Depending on whatever they do next, I'm interested in seeing what they do next. But yeah, this was an excellent way to end everything in terms of some characters' stories. It felt like this is a final goodbye to those characters, and then others, still some lingering questions, which I'm assuming we're going to also get into when we start to talk about a few other questions. But overall, I thought the film was excellent. I have seen it one time. I did see it in the Dolby Cinema, so that added a little bit more to like the sound and the environment, that type of thing. It was great, but I'm definitely going to see it again when I get a chance.
All right, cool. Yeah, I also definitely want to see it again. I actually, went to my first midnight viewing when, the night it came out. And I went all the way to the O2 Arena, in London to see it. And, I've never done that before. And, it took me hours to get home afterward. But I would say that this was the one movie to ever come out that is completely worth that experience for me. And I'll probably never ever go to a midnight viewing at the O2 again, just because it is a lot of hassle. But for Endgame, it was definitely worth it. I loved the movie. I'm a big Captain America fan, so he has a lot of moments in the film that I was happy to see. Even the Hell Hydra moment, which if you've kept up with the comics, there was like a big controversy about that when he joined Hydra. And I like the fact that they did like a throwback to Winter Soldier in the elevator scene, and he dropped the Hell Hydra there. Like it was just amazing how they put that in there. And then of course the moment where he wields Thor's hammer, like the cinema exploded at that moment. Like everyone went crazy, like everyone went nuts, and I was one of them. And I barely react to movies ever, but that moment was just so epic. So yeah, I mean, I love the film. There's lots of great moments throughout, and usually I don't like time travel in movies because I feel like time travel is something that opens up a lot of potential plot holes and alternate theories and things like that. So I don't like time travel in stories, but I think they did a great job of it, and it didn't actually take up the whole film. Like I felt like there was a good portion of before the time travel and after the time travel. So I think they did a great job of it. I do have a lot of questions about that still, but yeah, it's I think they did a great job, and they tied up everything. And in terms of Infinity War and Endgame, what I think is great about Endgame is I don't think it just ties up everything in Infinity War. because they really could have just linked it to that movie only and wrapped up everything that happened in Infinity War. But I feel like they had callbacks to all the previous movies pretty much. Like there was some sort of reference to all the older movies. We saw a lot of scenes where they go back to previous movies and things like that. So that's what I really enjoyed about the movie. Like what Tony was saying earlier. Like if you haven't kept up with a lot of the films, you're not gonna it's not gonna be as rewarding for you, like, because there's things that you'll only catch if you've seen all of those films. So I think they did a great job of that for rewarding people for sticking by all of the films. So yeah, I really loved Endgame. And I mean, I can't say it's my favorite MCU movie just yet. I really want to see it again, but it's definitely up there. Like it's an event, it's a moment in time. So that's my thoughts on Endgame. So let's get to talking about some of the plot details. So the way this is going to work, because there's so many of us, is I'm going to throw out questions, and somebody can respond, and if multiple people start talking or responding to the question, then I'm going to pick someone to answer at that point. And yeah, we're just going to get into the nitty-gritty of the film, basically. So I spoke about time travel just now, so I wanted to ask you guys, and anyone with something to say is free to answer, and I'll pick someone. But what did you guys actually think about the time travel element and how it was used in this movie? Like, honestly. So
let's see. Well, in regards to the time travel element, I mean, I'm sure there are going to be people who argue about quantum physics or whatnot, but what you have to understand is this is fantasy, and yet they played around with it really nicely. Like they made references, like at one point Ant-Man said, wait, so Back to the Future was, bullshit? It got to the point where they actually did some questioning there. So it was neat to have that element instead of saying, okay, yeah, this is going to work and everything. But no, I mean, there was like certain doubts, during experimentation, we saw that, like, we saw Ant-Man go from like an old man to a baby back to barely his own age, so they played around with different aspects of it. So I kind of like what they did with that there. If anything, there's really the question of physics, because at one point, like, you got Nebula, the Nebula from 2014, she brings this gigantic warship going through a time portal and just crashing through the roof. And, I'm sure some people will argue, well, I don't know if you could transport something that big through like a small time tunnel. But, again, it's all based on fantasy. I think the time travel aspects were handled really well. I thought some of the humor was really great. I like the term time heist. I think it's pretty cool. The only thing I regret is that Luis was not around to break it down for us. I think that would have been great.
yeah, I agree with you with that.
I think Luis should have been, okay, so here's what we're going to do, dog. We're going to travel back in time. We're going to do something like that. I think that would have been great, but oh well. I mean, I like how the approach went down. There's probably questioning some of the things, like some of the effects it'll have, but by the same token, it also opens up possibilities for where the MCU goes from here. Because, anybody can play around with the time aspect now. It could be a part of the story, and it could really have an interesting effect on future events. So I like how it went down.
I personally think it was a way to really leave doors open, because there is a series with Loki on its way, and for all we know, it could be a 2012 Loki. It could be it allocates the ability to bring certain characters back who are dead, without undoing the events of this film in respect of other films, and I think it's a good franchise move.
I agree.
So on the time travel aspect, I liked it. I thought that they were able to break it down in a way that it not only made sense to the characters in the story, but made sense to the audience as well, because they did, they gave a shout out to the Spielberg movies, Back to the Future, mainly Back to the Future 2, right? Because the movie has some parallels with the way that they did the time heist. That was the inspiration for how they did things throughout the movie. So I thought they played it. I thought it was really good. I didn't necessarily know how they were going to do it, but I thought that things played out really good. Uh, yeah. Now, as far as I'm bringing the ship, when Nebula had brought the ship back through the portal, you got to remember, right when they first initially did the time travel. Now, if people didn't catch it, I believe Rocket Raccoon, when he gave his ship to what's the name, to Ronan, aka Hawkeye, they needed it to travel to where they needed to go because they were going in outer space, right? So I felt like, okay, that almost kind of foreshadowed what was going to happen when Nebula came back with the ship, because it's kind of like they trained you. Okay, you've seen this, and then it's gonna happen again, but it's gonna be different with a whole nother aspect to it. So yeah, I thought it worked out really good, and the fact that I said, okay, they can't go through time without something bad happening. And when Thanos found out, oh my God, I was like, yo, it's about to go down. It's about to go down, like for real. So yeah, it was freaking amazing, man. Like just it was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One question I had. Sorry, could you mute your mic, Reggie? It's just a bit of echo. Thank you. Yeah. So one question I had about the time travel is like I feel like at some points that they were being a bit selective, like because it seems like throughout the early parts of the film that whatever changes in the past doesn't actually change the future. So like if something happens to the past versions of a character, it doesn't affect the future version. But then, with the Nebula thing, it works differently, like, because I don't know, I guess like her mind is linked or something, but I just found that peculiar that is, the past version and the future version change together. So did anyone else have like an issue or a thought about that?
Well, the whole Nebula thing, I think it was just more of the proximity issue. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they were using the same fucking Wi-Fi for their brains to teleport or whatever. So
yeah,
I
that's
think,
how I saw it too.
yeah, the only part one, I mean, you can plug holes left and right to this time travel thing, because and rightly so. Like at the end of the day, this isn't a sci-fi movie, so it's just we're gonna agree to the confines of the structure of how this time traveling aspect is gonna work in this universe. And the one thing that did make me just question it a little bit is the whole thing with Captain America, old Captain America, and knowing that he decided to travel to the past to live out his whole life.
Yeah.
But then how did he ever come back? It's like, did he use a time machine to go to the future to that specific point? Or because they made it clear, when you go to the past, you're not going to your past, you're going to a different past. Like it's a different strand of time. And whatever you affect there, it's going to be its own timeline. So that's the part that got me thinking, that doesn't really make sense to me.
Yeah,
I think
cause
with
if
the
that's
idea,
case,
sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say it because the way you like what happened with the old Captain America at the end, that would mean that there was two Steve Rogers existing in the same world, right? At the same time, because
there's
Exactly.
two, every one.
I think like Cap gets enough fill of himself with the fight scene over the spear during the time heist. So I think he just realizes that it's best if he just stays out of the way and then subtly makes his entrance so he can give the shield to Sam and just be done with it.
Yeah, to me, like I've gotten to the point where I just don't worry about time travel anymore because I've never seen any movies that really do it. Ironically enough, one of the few movies that did do it right, they made fun of in this one, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. That actually does time travel correctly. But like even I love Back to the Future, that time travel is all fucked up. I love Terminator, that time travel is all fucked up. The time travel in this movie is all fucked up. So I kind of just go with it because it's just too. You're really just like they set the rules up and then they break them with certain characters like Captain America. I don't even think Nebula is breaking it though because it was kind of like the Wi-Fi just got mixed up. But yeah, that's kind of weird because the way they position is like if you go back in time and change something, you don't affect your present. You just create an alternate timeline. That's why Captain America went back in time to put the stones back so none of those other timelines get created. But he stayed back. So there should be another Steve Rogers in the past. So again, I'm like, okay, Tony, just check out. Don't even worry about that, because time travel in general in fiction is like almost always done wrong, you know?
Yeah, not to mention the fact, like, when 2014's Nebula dies, 2018's Nebula stays in place. Like in any other, something like Looper or whatever, we would have seen that 2018 version vanish, but she didn't. She stayed put because they were on the alternate timeline. I mean, and we're really going to question reality in a film like this. Just remember, okay, like Paul Rudd grew 10 times in size and punched a Chitauri vessel. So let's not really let realism get in the way.
Yeah.
This is superhero fantasy.
No,
So,
my thing is, it's not really about realism. It's just sticking to your own rules, and I think they kind of broke them a little bit. Like, obviously, all this shit is made up, but if you're gonna set rules, you need to stick by them, and they kind of played a little loose with it at times, you know?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and the whole concept of paradox just goes out of the window on with this time traveling story. So, like when Captain America goes to deliver the stones back in the past, right? So it's like those 3 separate paths, but then he decides to go even further in the past to live his life. So it's like it's just like, a lot of it is used for convenience sake, and like Tony mentioned, this story doesn't really, you shouldn't take its science fiction aspects that seriously, because at the end of the day, this is more of a fantasy film than anything.
Well, it's a superhero film, which always plays loose with that type of shit anyway, you know? It just mixes up everything, fantasy and sci-fi and all that, you know? And again, reading the comics, I'm like, yep, comics do that same type of shit, you know? So it kind of makes sense.
But I do think that they're going to use this, now that they introduced, like, since Ant-Man, this quantum realm time traveling stuff. I'm pretty sure they're going to use an aspect of this to bring sort of the heroes from the 20th Century Fox heroes, the X-Men.
That's a discussion for another day.
Yeah, I know. Just wanted to mention it.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, so before we move on, Dana, was you gonna say something?
No, I just really have a purpose. I didn't really have that much to say or a problem with the whole time travel loophole thing, because they pretty much said the present won't affect the past, so they can do whatever they want to. And in the moment of things, sometimes you forget the rules, and that's it. So there's no need for me to dive deeper into that, because they already stated that.
All right. Fair enough. Okay, so the next thing I was gonna ask you guys, like, what did you think of the tone of the film? Because obviously they were very selective of what they showed us in the trailers, but from those trailers, it seemed like it was gonna be like a kind of grim, depressing kind of film, you know, where people are mourning a lot of the time, you know, but the actual film there is very lighthearted. There's still a lot of jokes. You know, it matches the tone of every other Marvel film pretty much, where there's a lot of like jokes and lightheartedness. So did you guys think that, you know, that was the correct way to do Endgame, or should it have been different?
It's kind of interesting you mentioned that, because when I was watching the movie, I thought that I was surprised by the fact that, or at least to me, there were not that many jokes. Like Marvel movies, at least the last few of them, like they always hit a joke at a certain moment. So every time they didn't hit that, I'm like, oh, they didn't do a joke. Oh, that's interesting. So even though I do agree with you that they still do I guess the prerequisite amount of Marvel jokes, it's not as much as I was expecting. I was expecting a little bit more, to be honest, just based on the trajectory that the movies have been going in the past, ever since the Guardians of the Galaxy, you know, like that. To me, that, you know, I'm not going to get into it, but that's part of the reason why I don't like Thor Ragnarok. Too many jokes, you know. I felt that movie was ruined by that, but this one had less jokes than I was expecting, so I didn't have a problem with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think they balanced it well. It's just I was expecting a lot less. Like, I thought it was going to be a bit more serious, but I'm happy with the result. But does anyone else have any thoughts on that?
I think the way that they built it up, they knew that there was a lot on the line with this movie, so they didn't want to give away like too many jokes in the trailer. They didn't want to, like have a sort of a Guardians of the Galaxy sort of vibe. Like they knew Thanos was back. Thanos meant serious business. How that was going to happen, they didn't explain it. And I'm glad about that. But I think the whole idea was to really make it feel like there was something to lose here, because we knew there was going to be something to lose. We knew some characters were going to die on this, but they made it come across in a way where it was vital and important. And then when we saw later trailers and we saw Rocket Raccoon chatting with Ant-Man, or, we see Ant-Man get startled by War Machine, what's up, average size man? They started to lighten up a little bit, but at the same time, they still kept those high stakes. I think what they wanted to do was introduce a little bit of camaraderie to let them know that these Avengers are really assembling together for this big, whatever's going to go down with Thanos, without really spoiling exactly what was going to go down. I think the way that this hype was built up was just about perfect. Now, as far as the film not having humor, I think there was a lot more funnier moments than Tony may be letting on there, because there were really some great moments, like when trying to find the van in the middle of the battle, and you hear the horn in the distance. I thought that was hilarious, but I mean, maybe that's just me. But I mean, there were a lot of moments that really mixed things up. I mean, you kept the emotional heft of the film, but the way that they did it was just about perfect. It wasn't super serious with everybody dying. By the same token, you knew the stakes were still there. But I mean, like the way that the screenwriters, who've been doing stuff like this for a while, with Civil War, with Winter Soldier, Infinity War, they really nailed down that tone, and it did feel like it jumped off anywhere. I mean, I love the way everything unfolded in terms of how it all unfolded.
Right. How about you, Rich? Because I remember you saying that you really enjoyed the Fortnite reference in the movie. So
Hey, I never said that. No, I mean, I appreciated the tone. The thing about the movie is, it starts off very serious. That whole first act, you didn't really have too much hope for what was going to happen. And then when you see them chop off Thanos' head, it's like, oh. And there were some people in my theater screening like, oh, so the movie must be over. No, don't try to make any jokes right now. We're trying to enjoy the film. So that yeah. But I mean, I was fine with the humor they had in it. I didn't think it was too much. I think you needed to have a good amount of it, because again, as you guys have already said, the stakes are high for this movie, so we have to keep it serious to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm. There is one thing though, when we were reintroduced to Thor and he had a beer gut. that was interesting to say the least. That kind of loosened the tone up a little bit there. And then, obviously Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man making a Lebowski reference just because it was pretty much perfect. So moments like that really added up.
Do you think that along the course of these Marvel movies that they've completely changed Thor's approach, like, because he seemed to be more of like a serious character, even though there was still jokes in the Thor movies and things, but I feel like he's a lot more comical now than he used to be, like around the time of the first Avengers film. Do you guys think that?
Yeah, I agree. And like I said, it's kind of the reason I don't like Ragnarok. It was too jokey. Thor's not like that. Like, yeah, there's some jokes here and there, but they're really playing off. And even at the beginning of this movie, he's all fat and shit. Like, I'm like, okay, that's kind of funny, but he stayed that way the entire movie. I'm like, I'm waiting for him to get buff and shit, and he never did, So I'm like, come on, guys, you can't just be throwing Thor under the bus like that. Granted, he did have some good scenes with his mother that I appreciated, but he was really played more for like comedic things. And I did, as a Thor fan myself, I didn't really appreciate that.
Yeah. I'll go ahead.
No.
Sorry.
Oh, I just felt that I got it at first, him being fat and, depressed and playing Fortnite. I just felt that the fat jokes and him just still being fat just went on for way too long.
Yeah.
Like, we got it. He's fat, but it still continued. So that was my issue with his character, is that I just didn't really feel that kind of like Thor-y seriousness from him. And I can kind of understand that you're not going to get that, because he's technically been through a lot, and he is the survivor, the only survivor of his family that's left. So, it's either him being depressed and crying all the time, are we going to sit through that, or him cracking jokes to kind of forget the pain. So I didn't mind his jokes. But just like the fact that, they could have just changed it up with so many fat jokes. So you got it. And I did
thi-
also he would get buff at the end.
If I could just say something in defense here, Thor has probably been through the worst of all this. I mean, he's lost his city of Asgard. He's lost his brother. He lost, Idris Elba's character. He lost so much over the course of these past few films, and even though he was a little bit jokey about it at times, I mean, there was a lot that went through his psyche. So, I mean, after he beheaded Thanos and everything and he tried to shake it off, he just couldn't. So that probably explained why he grew the beer gut, why he had the beard, why they threw in the joke about Fortnite, which I really could have done with that, but whatever. They brought back Korg. I'm happy. But, I think he's been through like an incredible amount. So it kind of shows his collapse a little bit. I do agree that some people may not like everything about the jokey tone, especially when he tries to do the heist explanation thing or when he insists on putting on the gauntlet. But I think he was just trying to find redemption in something. And I think that's what makes his scenes with his mother so poignant, because it's like she kind of helps him find his way, even though he doesn't tell her that she's practically doomed to die. So I think there's just a little bit of a redemption turn there, and then at the end it kind of gets a little bit fun when it sounds like he might take over the Guardians of the Galaxy. But I can see where some people be annoyed by that, but he's been through a shit ton compared to like everybody else.
Well, I mean, I personally think, just looking at that character, Thor is one of those characters that has had one of the weirdest arcs in the MCU. He starts out really serious, and Thor 2 is so bad. And then everything about Ragnarok is, the character almost does a 180 in terms of tone. And I feel like this is a continuation from what I know from what I've seen, as well as what was kind of present in the Endgame. This is a continuation of the Ragnarok Thor, as opposed to the very melodramatic Thor of 1 and 2. And I think, like, it's one thing to see Captain America getting all teary-eyed and brooding, but to see a hero actually gets depressed, to me, is much more motivating, because that shows the fallibility of a god, especially. And that makes me actually connect with the hero more than to just see him brood, because obviously that man was just depressed and he just drank it away. And to me, there was something really, in a messed up way, there was something really refreshing about seeing a character take that kind of a character arc, because I think it's so relatable. I think it's so real. I think
here's the thing. I'm sorry, Austin. I just want to say, like, I don't have a problem with the character arc itself. I just felt he was the butt of too many jokes. That was the main problem. The whole arc he actually went through was actually really fucking good. I like seeing a god being brought down to our level. It's just like, did he need to be the butt of every fucking joke, really? That's just my thing. But anyway, go ahead.
No, well, I think that's a fair point. I think if you look at, of the big first three, the only one coming back would be Chris Hemsworth. And I think that's because the character of Thor had to be not necessarily a comedian, but he's gone through that Channing Tatum approach of trying to be this hyper, like, tough ass masculine dude, but still also being that little bit of the comedy crux at all times. So I can see it getting irritable, especially with the overall tone of the film. But I think, given what Ragnarok was, it makes sense that he would be Thor the Joker. Thor the Revengers leader, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Right, so we do have to move on. But Reggie, what was you going to say about the tone?
Well, to me, the tone, coming from Infinity War, right, and going into this movie, as everybody pretty much on the panel said, the stakes were high, but it's just, I like the way that they handled it, because, like you said, I mean, just reading the comic books, people kind of knew what was going to happen, but what to expect, but then they kind of took you for a loop while still keeping, it's like so let's say you're going up the mountain, you got to the highest point of the mountain, right? And there's like this line, right? So you're already there. So what happens in that moment? And I think that they did a good job of containing that while still keeping the stakes high with the jokes, the levity, the levity of the characters taking you on a journey with them. Everything from the song choice to the sounds, the special effects, like the moments of quietness in the movie, like when they, like, for instance, the moment when you saw Thanos, right, when they found him, and he's in the garden, which is like, it's straight from the comic book, right? But in your mind, you're thinking, okay, if they do this, how would the scene play out, right? And the way that they did it, like they let you see, okay, just for a brief moment, this is how he's living, right? And then when Captain Marvel came and everybody came, boom, they hit him up. That was a wrap, right? Thor took the hammer, chopped his head off. To me, that right there is just it speaks volumes. And you got different parts throughout the movie that's like that. Now, as far as Thor, because everybody's hit on, I know we're going to go to the next scene or whatever. But to me, I pretty much resonate with Thor. I don't want to say out of everybody here, but as a person that has PTSD, right, that's been to war and seen a lot of things, right? To me, I felt the most sympathy for him, so I could feel where he was coming from. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I mean, and then to see him to make that turnaround, right? When we got to the end, and I wasn't expecting him to get back buff or anything. That's darn near impossible, right? But he did his thing, man. I like the turnaround that he made, so I definitely feel it. But yeah, the overall tone of the movie, I thought they really did a good job containing it and keeping you on the edge of your seat.
All right, I feel you on that. So yeah, like let's talk about Thanos because Infinity War. Oh, sorry, Reggie, could you just mute real quick? Yeah, thanks. So Thanos, Infinity War did a great job of building up Thanos, and he quickly became, the best villain in the MCU like ever. Instantly. Now, me personally, I feel like this movie kind of undoes that a bit. Like in this movie, he doesn't really have the same depth he had in Infinity War, and I know they had that whole scene where they killed him off, in the first 10 minutes, and I understand why they did that, with the whole time travel aspect and stuff. And I was glad to see him make his comeback from the past as well. But I do feel like that in doing that, I guess because they had so much to show in this film, I do feel like they kind of, took away a lot of his depth because, he doesn't have the same motivations to get the Infinity Gauntlet that he had in Infinity War. It's just that he sees what happens in the future, and he sees that they're messing with his plans, and that becomes his only motivation to follow through with his new plan. So do you guys feel like they kind of undid a lot of what they did with Thanos in Infinity War?
That's an interesting take. I didn't think about that because to me, I felt Thanos in this movie was more in line with the comic book version, where he's more direct and to the point. Like, even though I thought he was great in Infinity Wars, they kind of humanized him like a little too much, So it was kind of good that they kind of stripped this back and made him a little bit more evil, even though he still had more depth than a lot of cheesy comic book movies, But I did like the fact that this Thanos, at least for the second half of the film, was a more like focused, direct Thanos compared to the one in Infinity War. But at the same time, since I am seeing this as one movie, it is kind of cool to see both aspects of this characters depending on how things play out. And I did think it was cool that he's like, oh shit, my plan actually came through fruition. They're just trying to undo something I already did. So I kind of thought that was cool because usually these movies, the heroes are trying to stop something that's going to happen. This one, they're trying to undo what did happen. So I thought that was a really cool kind of take. But again, if you take both movies into one, it is kind of interesting to see both aspects of Thanos, as a character.
Yeah, and I'm glad that they killed off the Thanos in this one as soon as they did, because if you think about it, this would accomplish his goal. And they even mentioned in the last movie, it's like, what did you give up to do your goal? And it's like everything. So this guy didn't really have anything to live for anymore. He just stayed in his little garden thing, just chilling. So it's like, yeah, like I don't know if there was going to be like a clever way to bring him back to care about doing something more than what his destiny said he needed to fulfill. So I'm glad that they went back in time and got a Thanos in a different stage of his life, sort of a little more ruthless Thanos, like in my opinion.
That's a good way to look.
I'll tell you,
Yeah,
I really do like one callback though. Like when he chops Thanos' heads off, Thor said, "What? I went for the head," because technically Thanos said, "And you should have gone for the head" at the end of
Yeah.
Infinity War.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, and Carlos, just one quick thing to add. Remember, like the Thanos in the beginning of the movie, he even destroys Infinity Stones. He's like, "What the hell do I need these for?" The Thanos in the past would never even conceive of doing something like that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool seeing both of those aspects. Go ahead.
They're two different Thanos. That's like you lived your entire life and then someone says, "Hey, you're going to die of cancer the next day." And you have the ability to go back in time. You, in that back in time, is not going to see the urgency or try to do everything all at once. You're going to take your time. So with this one, if they're not the same, the guy that we know is dead and you're going back to your past. I'm pretty sure in your past you're much different than how you are right now in your future. So you're going to get that more focused Thanos, because even though he finds out, "Hey, I accomplished my goal," he still hasn't accomplished his goal. So in order for him to get to that future, he has to continue to find the stones and be ruthless as the way that he was. So that's how I viewed it.
I would honestly say he even kind of. I think by the time Endgame wraps up, you have a character who regrets to a degree what he's done. But when you've got a man who has no regrets, that's a very dangerous situation. And I think the one they bring in is definitely one that has yet to regret or made the action that he would eventually regret. And I think.
I don't think neither Thanos regret what they did.
Well, I think they regret that they had to do it out of necessity. I think even at the end of Infinity War, you see a character who definitely had to give up everything to get what he wanted.
Do you mean with regards to Gamora?
Gamora, and I think to a degree, I think he feels a little bad with Nebula.
Right.
Eh.
Yeah, like also one thing I was thinking as well, it's like Infinity War is really like, if you think about it, Thanos is the protagonist in that film. And I think in Endgame, the Avengers are the protagonists. So maybe it's just, you're seeing things a lot differently because of that also.
I'm just glad in hindsight they made his objective not to have sex with death. That's
yeah, that was always corny,
I'm so glad they moved away, because they were going there in the first Avengers, and I'm glad we just moved away from that.
Yeah, but any final thoughts on that before we get to some deep stuff?
I kind of like how when Thanos lost, he kind of did the same thing he did at the end of Infinity War. He sat there and everything, but a complete opposite reaction. Like at the end of Infinity War, he felt satisfaction that he had accomplished his mission and everything. But by the time that Endgame came to a close, he sat there, he was dejected, he was defeated. And I think a lot of people were waiting for him to reach that point.
All right. Okay, so let's get to some of the consequential stuff that happened. So we had the whole Black Widow and Hawkeye going to what planet is that again? Vormir? I think it's Vormir.
Yes.
Vormir, yeah.
Yeah, to retrieve the Soul Stone, and we all know what happened last time. Somebody went there. So it was going to either be Hawkeye or Black Widow. So I just want to, see how some of you guys felt in that moment, and did you instantly know it was going to be Black Widow that died? So I'll go to you first, Rich. What was your train of thought when you saw that scene?
Well, let me just start off by saying I'm disappointed that you didn't go to Dana first, because I loved when she told me her reaction. So definitely go to her next.
I will do.
So when that happened, I honestly, I guess I was a little surprised, but not entirely like I didn't shed any tears. I mean, we knew already from the first movie, from the Infinity War, that one of them was going to die, but I didn't really expect, Ronan, aka Hawkeye, to die, because the whole reason he turned to Ronan is because of what happened with his family, and if he knew he had an opportunity to get them back, I felt they were going to give him that redeeming storyline one way or another. So when she was the one that met her death, I was like, oh, okay, all right, well, I guess that's it. I didn't have too much of a strong reaction to it. Definitely wasn't expecting it, but yeah, not a strong reaction from me.
So Dana, I gotta hear this story. Like, what was your thoughts?
Okay, so here's the thing, and I was kind of disappointed in this. They took the two least characters I cared about, and basically who didn't really have that much of a shine in the MCU, and just killed them, and I felt nothing. I then they the arguing back and forth. I would have been good if they both went over the cliff.
Brutal.
Yeah, that whole scene, I know it's supposed to be emotional, and there were people crying. I was just like, man, I didn't do nothing.
Wow. Like I've heard a few people say that those were like the two least major characters to go to Vormir, but I feel like throughout these Avengers films, Black Widow has kind of been a big deal. I mean, obviously she's not as powerful as everyone else, but I feel like she's been a pivotal part of the team still. So
She's used to Hulk. That's literally, she's the Hulk comer.
maybe fair enough.
See, and to be fair, there is a Black Widow movie coming out, so we had pretty much. It almost seemed like we were guaranteed that she would be fine at one point in time, unless now, but obviously now it's going to be like a prequel thing, because I mean, unless they find a way to bring her back, which I doubt. So I mean,
what if
it's
they
gotta be
use?
a prequel thing?
Or what if this is my tinfoil hat theory? What if they mention that there's going to be a Black Widow movie just so they won't think that we're going to be like, oh yeah, she's dead. Be like, no, she has to live.
An intentional misdirect?
Yeah, like a misdirect.
Because they already started casting for the movie. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Side note, if I may say, slightly related, just in regards to Vormir, you know how awkward it must have been for Captain America to drop by it and just like give Red Skull back the stone if he put them all back? That must have been like a really weird.
Hi, I'm here. Can I get Black Widow back? I've got your stone here. What, soul for a stone?
Wait, is that an actual theory? Like, could he have?
Well, he had to. He had to go back and give the stone back, didn't he?
Yeah.
So
Wait,
wait, so does that mean Black Widow is back?
No,
that's
but
a good point.
No.
the
Like
events
him-
that happened.
Yeah.
So what you'll meet is the Red Skull, who never seen Scarlet or the other guy, the forgettable one, Hawkeye.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
But why couldn't I mean? And this is just probably looking too deep into it. But why couldn't Captain America just be like, "Hey, I'll give you this Soul Stone for what's her name, Black Widow,"
Because she's gone apparently. And also, let's be honest, Captain America running into Red Skull again is probably gonna be really awkward. Just to be
Well, that's what would make
perfectly
it funny,
fair.
Like, oh yeah.
Oh, hey, there you are. How you doing? Your tone's kind of changed a little bit there, Red Skull. You've been here a while.
Yeah, what's up, Reggie?
Well, here's what I have to say about that particular scene, and just give us some credence to it. So, it's no secret that the Black Widow and Clint Barnes characters, or Hawkeye, their relationship hasn't really been to the forefront of any of the movies, but it kind of plays out in the background with different scenes here and there throughout the MCU, right? So once they get to this point, which, I mean, I wasn't thinking about it at the time, but if you think about it, okay, they said it's a soul for a soul, and you have to give up something that you love, right? So it doesn't mean that you have to be like in love with the person, like lovey-dovey or whatever, like Star-Lord and Gamora was, but just the fact that those two, they went there, and you could see, I think their story came more to the forefront in this movie than any other, out of all the other movies that came before it. And you could see the genuine love and that they have for each other, right? And then the fact that they weren't fighting to live, they were fighting to die, and both of them was willing to lay down their life on the line to get everybody back. So whatever it takes, which is the theme of the whole entire movie, it's freaking a darn near campaign. But at this point, I thought that was amazing. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that they're necessarily throwaway characters. I mean, both of them, you know, they play their part. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so, but did Black Widow? I think that was the first. I think I was crying before that. That was the trick on my ugly cry. Right there is when that happened. Because I wasn't expecting that. Like, I was totally thinking, I was like, okay, if they go to Vormir, right? How are they gonna get this stone back? Like, it can't. Because I'm thinking, okay, if they go back, the only way that both of them would have survived is if they had met Thanos at the time when he killed Gamora and he was laying in the water, kind of unconscious, like, and they would have just took the stone out of his hand. But that would have been too simple. You know what I'm saying? So
he would have killed them too.
Yeah, this would have been the big. Yeah, this would have been the big payoff. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I mean, yeah, it that part that's when it got me a little bit, but not as much as things to come, which we'll speak about later.
I think Hawkeye should have adopted a stray dog right before he went and just gone solo. That's too dark. I'm sorry, but yeah, it was manufactured. I think I agree with Dana. I never necessarily cared about the characters, and that was a relationship that I was always a little. I'm glad Age of Ultron definitely kind of solidified that it's just a good friendship, because I think there is a lot of flirtation there. So it was a relationship I never quite could get the definition of.
I feel like she flirted with a lot of them though, like because
Hold on.
she was very flirty in Winter Soldier.
Well, Jeremy Renner, I think Jeremy Renner, he got in trouble because I think it was around Age of Ultron where he's like, yeah, she's just being passed back and forth between all the other Avengers. And I remember he got in some hot water for that. But I don't know. Yeah, Black Widow is one of those characters that she's got some interesting motivations. So I think she could come back. When you involve time travel, anything's open. So with the solo movie, I don't know. I could see it happening.
I don't think that it would I would not want, and if the character is dead, let them stay dead, because if you bring them back, right, all the death scenes, even you know, if let's say, okay, that was the lesser of the deaths in the movie, right, but the person still died. It's kind of like, you know, like when Optimus Prime died in Transformers the animated movie, right? Well, they had to bring him back. They had to have that little blurb at the end that said that when the credits rolled, it said Optimus Prime will return, because at that time they knew that, okay, we don't bring this character back, there's a lot of money that we could lose, but we're in a different time now, right? Where people understand, okay, look, if this character is dead, they need to stay dead, because this movie, the implications, the impact of it, the fact that, you know, we went through this all 11 years to get to this point. If you bring that character back, her death will mean nothing.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't think I necessarily agree with that. I think it depends on the moment in the scene. You know, like Spock's death is always a scene that I love in Wrath of Khan, but I can still appreciate him coming back in the immediate sequel. I think if the scene is powerful, it has lasting power.
Okay, Rich, you was gonna say something, and then we have to move on.
I just was going to ask a real fast question. Do you guys think you would have cared more if it was the Hulk and Black Widow that had to go to make that sacrifice, considering, you know, all of the stuff they had with their relationship that they never really pursued? Or you think it wouldn't have made a difference?
I do think that was very played down in this film. Like, I feel like there wasn't really much, you know, between them. In the time that we had, so I guess that might have brought some of those feelings back. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like
think
Hulk
there's
was needed elsewhere. But
Yeah, I think there was a better kinship, because if you think about it, like Hawkeye would not have come back. He would have continued his Ronin ways if Black Widow didn't go to get him. And they do have a longer relationship. They have a longer relationship. Like, they went all the way back to Budapest, you know, from years ago, you know, and that's why, like, in the Avengers, like when Black Widow's in the middle of something and they call her in and be like, Barton's been compromised. She drops everything. She takes care of the thugs and she goes. She doesn't even give it a second thought. I mean, that's her relationship with Hawkeye. So I think when it came to that choice, Hawkeye was the better choice because they have a much stronger bond than she and Hulk ever did.
Very good point. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So
On the side, I
go
was
ahead
about to
quickly.
say that on a side note, I wonder what the conversation was like when Captain America went back in time and he was they had the relation he got his girl, got back with Peggy. I wonder did he ever mention, well, I kiss your niece in Civil War.
Yeah, super awkward.
That would have made every subsequent Christmas dinner and or trip extremely strange.
What happens in Civil War timeline stays in the Civil War timeline.
To this date, that is my favorite meme I've seen for Endgame, where it was like, I think it was the picture. It was two pictures. The top image was, I think it was Iron Man turning to Steve, and he's like, "Do you trust me?" The text reads, "Do you trust me?" And then you just have Captain America go, "No," and then the logo right underneath is Civil War.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get to the final battle, which was I guess the big payoff for everything that's happened. Obviously after all the time stuff, they get back to Earth, and then the Hulk actually does the snap, and we don't see the heroes come back till later when they're fighting Thanos already. But the scene where Doctor Strange, his portal thing shows up, like at that moment, like my theater lost it. Like just people were going crazy, and then you see all of the characters come back and everything. So I want to let you guys know. I want you guys to let me know what you thought of that moment and the final battle, in its entirety. Because me personally, and this is one of the reasons I really, really want to see it again, but I don't feel like it was as good as it could have been. But this might just be me needing to see it again to really analyze it. But and I understand that there's so many characters and there's only so much time they have to let everyone have their shine. But I don't know. I feel like for some reason I was just expecting more. But I feel like it was great to see all the characters come back again, and I feel like they did a good enough job considering there's so many characters to show on screen. But what did you guys think of the final battle?
Yeah, like to me, I'm like, that's the part where I'm like, yo, can you extend this by 30 minutes? Because like that's like I really wanted to see more characters get their shine there. That was the part of the movie that got me. Like I'm not like Reggie, I don't cry and shit during movies, but I definitely felt some type of way when they all started coming out. And then when Captain America says Avengers Assemble, we've been waiting for that line since day one, son. So when you finally heard that, I fucking went nuts, man. I kind of wish I went to theaters that you guys went to, man. My guys are quiet the whole time, The battle was awesome. I really liked the way it played out. My only complaint is I wish it could have been longer. Like you could have had like a good 40 minutes. I'm like, yo, we've been building up to this for all these movies. Go fucking ham, But what they did present was very good. There was a lot of tension, little moments here and there, which I thought were really good, man. It all built up to this. I think somebody said it before. It's like the most epic battle you ever seen in a movie, which is saying a lot because we've seen a lot of these type of battles in other films, but this one just took it to like a whole other level, man. It was fucking insane.
I think the battle played out perfectly fine the way it was. I mean, adding more to it would have been great and everything, but I really liked how everything unfolded because we saw a lot of key moments. We saw, we finally saw Captain America say Avengers Assemble, and we've been teased that for how many years now? So, I mean, we had that first. Then he proved to be worthy for Mjolnir. My theater went apeshit when that happened because they were like, "Oh, is Thor doing this?" No, it's Captain. Wait, Captain's got the hammer? Wait, what's going on? And then they had to swap weapons in the middle of their battle. I thought that was great too. And there was just so many moments like even like the smaller things, like the Wasp acknowledging Captain America as Cap when there was that joke in Ant-Man at the Wasp about calling him Cap. The whole meeting between actually the whole thing with Captain Marvel showing up and completely obliterating the crap out of Thanos' ship. Like didn't even think about it. Just like blazed through it like a bullet going through a wall or something. And even like some of the smaller moments, like Peter Parker and Iron Man having their quick reunion, like Peter Parker instantly going into puberty when Captain Marvel talked to him. I mean, that just like the little things just really added up here, and it all just culminated into a sweet sequence that was just a lot of fun to watch. I mean, I seriously can't wait to watch it again to see what I missed, but I think it was very well balanced. I think it was really well done.
I'll say that of what I have seen of the film, I have seen the majority of the final battle, and for me, I never necessarily bought into that whole father. I didn't really like Homecoming all that much, so the whole surrogate father for Tony and Peter was always kind of lost on me. But I think it showed up in this movie when he got his hug on. That was definitely that was a moment that I felt kind of just even with the USC screener they showed. That was a moment that really got me in the chest. I thought it played really well. Everybody got their little moment to shine.
So listen, right? I'm trying to keep it together. Now listen. In my theater, because I went to see it twice, right? So the second time I seen it, I noticed a lot of things, but the emotions and everything was still there because I still wasn't ready to, even the second time I seen it. I'm probably not going to be ready the third time I go see it, right? But here's the thing. So when that scene went down, right? And Thor was like, when they first walked out, and Thor said, I just want to make sure we on the same page. And the lightning came down, it transformed. He got his beard got braided up. You already know it was about to be serious. Like it's about to go down. It's about the block is about to be hot, right? Bombs over Baghdad type of stuff. Listen, as the fight was going on, and when Captain America got the hammer, right? Listen, man. When I first seen that joint, I was like, okay. I see Thor. He was already wielding two hammers, so I'm thinking, oh, he calling the hammer back to him, right? Yo, when Cap got that hammer, and he started doing on combos on Thanos, yo, man, listen, yo, oh my God, man, like.
He sounds like hip hop gamer over there. Yo, listen. Yeah, just hear me out, yo. Here it is, yo.
I swear, I was waiting for Ed Boon to come in and say toasty or something because it was about to get. Yo, I mean, dude, like when he got that joint, he threw the shield, he hit the hammer on it, like boom, 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 like he just, yo, man. But then when Thanos came back with that blade. And he's ripping his shield to shreds, right? In the moment, I knew I was gonna do it, man.
Yo, my man.
Let it out, man.
He is like hip hop gamer. He's like, yo, wait, what was I talking about?
Right now, son?
What?
Hey, my man.
That's the power of Endgame right there.
Yeah, man. Yo, Reggie, you got the little one, man. You got the little one, man.
Go ahead, Reggie. Let it out, man.
A moment when Captain America, the scene, right? This is the power, not only of the movie, but just cinematography done right.
Man, the scene where he's walking out, I think when that whole enemy army is it's just him in the sunlight. You remember that scene?
That's what I'm going to. So you see Captain America in the sunlight. He's standing there, right? Good. It's all good, man. Look, you see Captain America and he's standing there, right? And then you see Thanos. And he's talking. He's saying something. Captain America, he gets up, man. I mean, this dude is willing to lay it all on the line against all odds. And then when you hear that little chatter sound, right? Sam, this is Cap. This is Sam. Sam.
Cap. On your left.
When that happened, and you saw, and the music swelled up, and you seen T'Challa come out, Joe. Listen, man.
So, yeah.
I'm crying right now too, son.
Yeah, listen, yeah. It's great, man.
Come on, like,
Yo,
if you
Reggie,
get
you real, son. You real, son.
the head nod and Cap look at him, right?
This man's
Yo, it's
reciting the movie right now.
Look, man, it's like he gave that head nod. He was like, "We here." But when the scene opened up, right, and Sam Falcon entered screen right when he flew in, and the sound effect that he came when he was flying through, and all the portal started open up, man. Yo, dog. Look, man, I lost it. I lost everything right there. I lost my soul, my life, everything right there at that moment, man. Because it's like you knew they was gonna come back. You knew they were gonna come back, but it's the way that they came back. How they? I mean, yo, when Spider-Man came, yo, not even that. Dude, if you notice, right? When now I'm gonna tell y'all this, right? Wakanda, right? Because we always call Africa like their motherland, the nation, right? If you notice, when that whole screen opened up, you saw all of Wakanda in the background coming through. Yo, man, listen. Yo, excuse me. You got the whole nation, and they coming. Listen, man, but when Spider-Man came in, that was it, dog. The whole theater, everybody went nuts. Yo, that got me right there, man. I ain't know what to do after that, man. I was just, yo, man.
Oh, Reggie, man, you real, son.
Just yo.
Man, yo,
listen.
I could watch that scene. That scene is forever etched into my mind because that is the moment. Like, that's the moment, man. That's the moment, yo. Like, that whole scene, man. Like, I'm playing it back over my head right now, man. Like, it just, I've never seen nothing like it, man. I mean, like, when Doctor Strange came down, man, and that, yo, man, like, man. I'm gonna let y'all get
yo, wait till you see that shit on hip hop TV, man. Son.
Yeah. Wait, what'd he say? What? What's his yo business?
Oh God.
Reggie, I love your passion, man, for real. Like,
I see it, man. It's like I said, man, I never in a million years thought that I would see anything like that. It was like getting all your favorite toys when you was little, right? And you playing with them. And you like everybody just clashing together, and when Cap said Avengers Assemble, and then Thanos he pointed and his crowd started coming, and everybody started running in the scene, and you see Ant-Man, come on, man. I mean, like Robert said, this dude punched a freaking. I mean, we seen the Incredible Hulk do it, but when Ant-Man did it, it was something, man. Yo, he had some fire behind that punch, man. I mean, he was like, pow, like, man, come on, man. Man, this dude was about life, man. And yo, you see where when the females came in, and it was like, yo, like the ship when what's her name? Scarlet Witch, right? She came in, she was talking to Thanos. Thanos like, I don't know who you are. She was like, yo, you gonna find out today. You gonna learn today. Listen, man, yo. I mean, she about to strip this dude out of existence, man. Dude told her, Thanos was like, yo, he told Ebony Maw, yo, rain the missiles down on the troops. But he's like, the troops, they gonna be hurt. He said, fuck that, I don't care. Listen, when they start, and the guns, like they stop, right? Like they stop, right? And it was like, what's going on? What are they shooting at? There's something entering the earth at a high velocity. Catch them up, man. Listen, man. Look,
Yo, I'm crying right now, son.
Yo, Tony, yo.
Listen.
Oh, even like the small stuff, like Black Panther calling Hawkeye Clint when a few years ago Civil War, I don't care, and obviously now he does, and a reference back to Queens when Captain America threw the hammer for Spider-Man to grab onto so he get out, and Spider-Man's suit just stabbing the shit out of everybody. That was amazing.
And that was a callback too, because remember he did that by accident, and now he did it on purpose. So fucking awesome, man.
It was a mode, right?
Kill mode.
Stealth mode. Yeah. When his eyes turn red, to be like, "Yep, it's blood time. It's blood time." But
yeah. So
yo.
So let's get to some of the final moments. So like, what did you guys think of the departure of both Iron Man and Captain America? So let's go with Iron Man first, because that's how the battle scene ends. So what did you guys think of that moment? Did you expect it? Obviously, it's kind of building up to it with the whole Doctor Strange conversation and things like that. But what did you guys think of it?
I think it ended perfectly. I mean, it is sad that Tony Stark is gone, but the way it all unfolded, like Doctor Strange giving him the symbol that this was the one. This was the one in which they won, and that pushed Stark to the point. Between that and when Thanos removed the Power Stone to punch the hell out of Captain Marvel, that gave him the idea to just remove the stones altogether. And then there was that one moment when Thanos was like, "I am inevitable," snapped his fingers, and nothing happened. The crowd just went nuts. And then here's Iron Man, doing his gauntlet thing, and he's like, "And I am Iron Man." The callback to the original thing he said at the end of the 2008 film. And just the way it all came full circle was incredible. Like Doctor Strange trusting Iron Man enough to tell him, "Yeah, this is the victory, but you got to go for it." And him getting the idea to remove the Infinity Stones to begin with. If they had done that, they wouldn't have gone after the gauntlet. They would have just taken the stones. Give me those, and it would have been easier, but whatever. I think just the way it all unfolded, and then saying goodbye to Cap, saying goodbye to Spider-Man, saying goodbye to Pepper. It was a sad farewell, but it was incredibly effective and unfolded beautifully. I think it came full circle for Tony Stark, especially when you remember in 2012 when Captain America called him out and said, "You're not the guy to make the sacrificial play." You think by the end of the 2012 thing that would have resonated, but here it really does, because it tells the story of what Iron Man has done over the years and how far he was willing to go to show that he was, in fact, a hero, despite what Captain America said in the past. At least that's what I think.
Yeah, that was a great scene. I completely agree with you, bro. Everything you said, I completely agree with. And again, and it was also more powerful because Iron Man, that Robert Downey Jr., he's the one that started it all. It all began with Iron Man. So it's just so poignant that he was the one that sacrificed his life to save all of existence, basically. Great scene. I love the little character moments. And then obviously, we had the funeral at the end. One cool thing, I don't know if you guys noticed that there was this kid in the funeral, and people were like, "Who's this kid?" He's the kid from Iron Man 3. Isn't that cool? Like, yo, they go.
He didn't bring his potato gun though. That's what it was.
Nah, he didn't. Yeah, they go so deep, man. So that was a great way of sending that character out, like in a high moment. Very emotional, very impactful. I love the lighting, the music, fucking incredible, man.
Mm-hmm. That was really poignant.
For some reason, and let me know if anybody else felt this. For some reason, when they did the sort of the send off or the funeral, whatever that was, for some reason I thought Stan Lee was going to be there.
I don't know. He already showed up before.
I love what he did in 1970, though. I thought that was a really fun little thing. If they had put him in the funeral, maybe it would too much for us. I think doing the subtle 1970 thing was definitely the way to go. But I mean, when Hawkeye and Scarlet Witch were talking later, it'd be like, when they were talking about how Vision and Black Widow could kind of see that. I mean, they might have been thrown a hint in there, but I really think the way it played out was beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was just like the emotion of the whole thing, and especially how Stan Lee just recently passed. So I was thinking in that moment, I didn't cry and anything. It was emotional, but then I was thinking, if something were to put me over the top, it would have been to see Stan Lee at Iron Man's funeral. That shit would have been freaking crazy. But that's just me.
I think it maybe have been too much too soon.
Yeah,
the way they did it, I think they did really well.
I don't know. I think it would have taken me out the moment. It's like, "Hey, Marvel fans, I'm Stan Lee in a funeral.
Excelsior!"
It's going to take you out of it.
Mm-hmm. I think what they did with him was pretty much perfect. And I also like the fact that Tony got some resolution with his dad in 1970.
Yes,
because remember, after Civil War and everything, he kind of got torn apart, but he had that opportunity to just talk with him and didn't even give him any subtle hints like, "Oh, you should name your kid Tony" or anything like that. No, it was a real discussion. And did anybody else notice Jarvis from the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV series? I loved how they tied that in. That was great. But anyway, back to the funeral. I think it was the way they did it was pretty much perfect.
Yeah, I think it was very well done. From the scene where he died all the way until the funeral. The fact that he left that message, for his family and stuff like that, and everybody that was there that he was close to, and like you guys said, that they went they went all the way back, and those, especially with the little boy there, because the little boy from Iron Man 3, because nobody would have really thought about that, right? Because Iron Man 3 is kind of like the movie that everybody really doesn't like for whatever reason. I mean, I get why they don't like it. I have my issues with it too, but just the fact that they did that, and that just lets you know how far Tony Stark has come, with his, because first he was real arrogant. He wasn't humbled at first throughout the movies, and then as the movies go on, start from Iron Man 3 now, he starts to become a little bit more cognizant of what's going on, and okay, it's not just about me. There's other people here too, and I think that if you asked him, I don't think that Tony Stark would have done this in the past. He wouldn't have laid down his life like that. But given everything that's happened, and because he's been through a lot, he's seen, okay, the world it doesn't evolve around me. He knows, okay, he was able to lay his life on the line, and he did his thing. Ultimately, he saved the world and saved the future, for the other generations to come, figuratively, literally, and figuratively, so to speak.
And it's also kind of almost a character evolution too. Oh, sorry.
That's what I'm going to say. Yeah.
I thought somebody was going to interrupt me there. But I was saying a character evolution. When we first meet Iron Man, he's, ego-laden. He's a schmuck, a womanizer. He doesn't really care about anyone. And then you start to see him develop more of a care and everything. I mean, he's still got the ego by the end of the original Iron Man film, and it kind of carries over to Iron Man 2. But then you start to see him develop camaraderie with Rhodey. You start to see him, think about what he wants to do with Pepper. And then I think by the time Infinity War circled around, he was concerned about like who faded away along with Peter Parker. I mean, he served as a father mentor too. That helped out evolve his character as well. And by the time Endgame concluded, it was a complete 180 on what we originally saw in him. Like Robert Downey Jr. did stupendous taking this role and evolving him into someone we never thought he'd be. Like even Captain America said, you are definitely not the hero type in 2012's The Avengers. But, over the years, we have seen all these changes that come up with it. And it all culminates, it all concludes with him, just like Black Widow, making this ultimate sacrifice to assure that the Avengers win, even if it doesn't mean seeing his daughter anymore, even though he does leave her the note, I love you 3000, which really hits close to home. It really does. So it's just how great Downey's done with the role and what he was able to do in Endgame with his character to end him on such a high note instead of, being a schmuck getting a cheeseburger.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really something. I mean, same with Black Widow. She kind of redeems herself too, because when she starts, she's like an assassin and everything. We know very little about her. She has attitude and all that stuff. But by the end of this film, like she cares so much for Hawkeye. She cares so much for her fellow Avengers. She feels this kinship. It's pretty cool what we've done with a lot of these. I mean, it doesn't balance with everybody. Obviously, people have their complaints about Thor, but when you take a look at Cap, Black Widow, Hawkeye, everybody's grown in their own certain ways, and Endgame really just builds all that together.
Indeed. What's your thoughts on it, Dana?
My final thoughts on the movie in general.
Tony Stark, the way he went, the way he ended the
this,
battle and everything.
this was definitely an Avengers movie, but I felt that it was also more a Tony Stark movie. We got to see his whole life starting off, as that billionaire bachelor, and him later on, with Pepper. And now in this movie, he has Morgan, and he's kind of completely changed and transformed into, I feel like, the man that he was always meant to be. But from the previous movie from the first one, would have been scared to have become. So for his arc, I think that it's sad that he's gone, especially for the fact that he'll never get to see Morgan. But as Iron Man, I think that it was his time to retire, and I appreciate everything about that character, and I thought it was very well done, his storyline. And the part at the battle when Doctor Strange looks at him and does that one thing, yes, it's like it was a reminder of, you have this opportunity. There's only one chance. And then he knows right then and there, he is the one who is that number one chance. There won't be anyone else who can essentially defeat Thanos and do the finger snap. Even though we saw previously Thor do that. No, was it Thor? No, was it Thor?
Hulk.
Hulk do that and almost die in the process. He gave up so much so that others can live. And at the end of the day, that was definitely not the Tony that started out. And I think it was just a very beautiful storyline. This whole arc was just very well done. And I appreciate everything he's done for the MCU. Robert Downey Jr. So
I think there's just one regret here. In the comics, Tony Stark and Captain Marvel have a camaraderie. They have like a buddy ship, if you will. We didn't really see that much in Endgame. We really didn't see much interaction.
Captain America, you mean?
Oh, right,
Captain
yes.
America,
yeah. I mean, it's just very little interaction there. But other than that,
we kind of saw that one in Civil War and through the previous.
Okay, maybe.
Yeah, breaking up was the purpose
right.
of war. So
okay, you're right. Right, never mind. I'll just shut up now.
How about you?
I'm just nitpicking now. Sorry.
Oh, it's all right. How about you, Rich? Any thoughts on Tony Stark and his death?
Yeah, I mean, I agree a lot of what was already said. I think this was the perfect way to end his story, considering that Marvel Phase 1, Iron Man was the first movie. So it really did come full circle as far as, you mature the character, you show him go through all these events, and then to make the ultimate sacrifice at the end, I thought that was perfect. One other quick thing I will mention, because you asked also about Captain America. I mean, I don't know if everybody will be satisfied with how that ended, but I was satisfied with how they ended this story because, I mean, I think it plays on two fronts. For an audience, a person in the audience that may feel as though they had an opportunity at something that they missed out on, and then also for those that just did not really get to pursue certain things that they wanted. It would give them, I guess, focus to really consider doing that, because a lot of people don't really get a chance to pursue something that they really wanted. He wanted to be with Peggy, and I'm glad he was able to get that as an ending, especially after all that he has done, throughout his whole arc. Always doing what was right to protect the world, stuff like that. So I was glad he got the happy ending that I feel he deserved. But yeah, that's the only points I was going to make on that.
Indeed, and just real quick about Tony Stark, Iron Man. One thing I really appreciate about his character is like he's definitely had the best character development over the course of all these films, because if you really pay close attention to his character from movie to movie, he learns a lot. Like whenever he's defeated in like a duel or something with a villain or something, like he always builds something to counter how he was defeated. Like by the next film, he'll have new upgrades on his suit that counter whatever happened in the previous film. So like little things like that I really appreciate. And even in like Infinity War, like you see what happens at the end of Civil War when Captain America uses the shield to destroy his arc reactor and stuff on his chest, and he has a counter for that in Infinity War. Like, so he's always learning. Like, he's learning the most throughout all the movies, and that's really what helps him build up to this exact moment. And that's why also, because one of the criticisms was that he solved the time travel way too quickly, but I feel like that's okay, like, because we've seen him learn so much throughout this entire series of films that I think it makes it acceptable. So yeah, he's just had an amazing growth, and I think it's it was just epic how they brought it all full circle. And of course, he had to die to really make Endgame impactful, and that's why it is Endgame. So I thought it was either going to be Captain America or Iron Man, but now that I've seen it, it definitely makes sense that it's Iron Man, even though we don't want to see him go, but it makes sense that this all ends with him, so with him going. Yeah,
So you
what you
got
gonna
both.
say?
In a way, Captain America did die. Ooh.
I mean,
In a way, he's like an old fart now. He's gonna die.
No, well,
He's dead on his feet. That's what it is. He's dead on his feet.
that iteration of Captain America definitely did die because he did pass the mantle. So it's like his character is pretty much not relevant anymore.
Yeah, he had a good send off too, for sure.
Yeah, he had a terrific send off. He got to live the life he wanted to live. He wanted to go and live his days out with the love of his life, and he was able to do that. And the fact he was able to survive long enough to go back and give Sam the shield with, by the way, approval from Bucky, because we all thought Bucky was going to inherit the shield, but Sam got it, and I was really happy about that. I thought that was a cool handoff.
I really love the scene where he Captain America, old Captain America, he touches Sam's hand and Sam sees the ring and he's like, "Hey, you gonna tell me about it?" He's like, "No, I don't think I am." I love that.
That was great. Yeah.
yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, just two final questions. So this next question actually came from Dana, our entertainment editor. She made sure that I had this on my agenda. So I wanted to ask you guys, so like, how does Endgame impact Phase 4? So how does this shape the next phase of Marvel? And do you have any thoughts on what you want to see and what you want to see from the new generation of characters, if you will? So any quick thoughts on that?
I think we're going to see some new arcs, but there are going to be ties. First off, there was a scene where Captain Marvel was, going to rush the Infinity Gauntlet to the little portal thing that was set in the van, and she's surrounded by all these female characters. I wouldn't be surprised if somewhere in the future we saw like an arc in which we see like a female Avengers sort of group get together for their own film down the road. But there were also these seeds planted for what could happen with the Disney Plus series that we're going to see. We're going to see, the buddy comedy with not comedy, I guess, but buddy movie with Sam and Bucky. We're going to see what happens with Wanda dealing with Vision. So there may be reflections from the movie going into that. Obviously, we got the Loki series too, and who knows, Thor could tie into that. We have Guardians 3 coming in a couple of years. Thor could be involved with that as well. There are just so many seeds planted here that could literally go in any direction, but we're also getting some fresh blood. We're getting the Eternals, which is going to come in a couple of years somewhere down the line. There could be something hits at Secret Wars because, Captain Marvel tied in something with the Skrulls. So, I mean, the cool thing about this is that the possibilities are wide open for what happens next. And I'm sure Kevin Feige and his team have already begun planting those seeds, seeing who could direct here, who could direct there. They know they can't repeat this kind of success, so they're going to go off with something different, I think, while at the same time still involving a lot of the characters who are relevant. Introducing new characters I think will be good. I'm crossing my fingers Wesley Snipes comes back at Blade at one point. Maybe. I don't know. But, there's always that thing is like with Phase 4, they're taking their time. They're not revealing their full hand, and I can appreciate that. But they're also leaving these things out there that indicate, this could go off a certain way. Obviously, we'll see Captain Marvel in future films, and I kind of like that. I like the fact we have questions like after Spider-Man Far From Home, which is technically the end of Phase 3, even though it's kind of wrapped everything up, we're still going to see that this summer. So, after that, the sky's the limit, and I like the possibilities of what's coming our way.
And also, like, what you didn't mention, Robert, is the elephant in the room is that's the whole 20th Century Fox IPs that
X-Men, Deadpool. Yep, exactly.
They any of those
that in a great way?
Yeah, and it's like, are any of those going to be in Phase 4? Are they in the plans? It's like, it's interesting to see how they will incorporate all of that together because they just got so many more properties that are relevant to this universe, and yeah, it's Kevin Feige's definitely got a lot of work in his hands, and I think weirdly enough, this might be even more complicated to do than what he already did, which looks complicated as hell. But
this is definitely going to be way more complicated because you're talking about bringing in the likes of X-Men and Fantastic Four, and which are they're basically like their own Avengers all together kind of thing.
And they said they take about 5 years to kind of really start to incorporate them. So I think they have plans to introduce other side characters like What was his name? It escapes me. There was another one they're doing with an Asian hero. I forget. Yeah, thank you. And they're doing him. They're doing the Eternals. Who knows? Howard the Duck could get a film again. I mean, you never know.
Yeah.
They're planning things out so carefully here that I don't think they're in a rush to introduce the X-Men. It'll eventually happen, maybe with Phase 5, but I'm still excited to see what happens.
Yeah, my theory is that with Phase 4, they're probably gonna like you said, Robert. They can't really do this again. So they're probably, in my theory, they're gonna just focus on single movies that are contained. Obviously, they're part of the larger tapestry and all that, but they're just self-contained movies within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think they're gonna go that way probably for most of Phase 4, and then maybe start to build up something epic for Phase 5. But just looking at all the projects they have coming, none of them seem like they're trying to go in a very specific direction. I think it's just more focused character movies. And I think that'll be, what we're going to see for the next 5 years or so.
And I'm fine with that. I mean, if we can establish this arc of it, I mean, if anything, like, not to bring these guys up, but the DCEU, they kind of learned that when you try to build up something way too quickly, it doesn't work. So, of course, now they're doing the things like Aquaman and Shazam, and they're actually starting to gain some traction again. Exactly.
So I think that's going to work that's what at least what Marvel's going to do. And they're in the enviable position because they've done the mega epics. That's worked. Now they could go back and do some more smaller scale type of
and build up something again. And that's great by me.
Yeah.
More Winter Soldier, Ant-Man type stuff. Like, it's like just contained movies that don't have to be in such a grand scale.
And leave Deadpool by itself. If you do a Deadpool 3, just leave it out. Don't wink at this whole Disney stuff. Just do Deadpool the way you do Deadpool.
Yeah, I think now that we've come to this grand conclusion of the MCU, right? Well, at least the Avengers side of things. I think now they get the chance to start off with a clean slate. I mean, I believe that Kevin Feige knows that they do want an X-Men movie, and I hope that he goes with the '90s X-Men, because I would really love to see that in live action. But I think pretty much there was some hit and misses on this journey up until this point, but I think pretty much they got the formula down pat as far as the way that they want to tell stories. And I was watching a couple of interviews last night and today, and they were saying that the process is that they always want to go one story at a time, right? And I think now that like everybody said here, it's going to be hard to top what they have done. I don't think it'll be a long time before we see any other moment like this. Although I could see a future where you got X-Men, Fantastic Four. I don't know who else you would throw into the mix. I know everybody wants to see Adam Warlock, but I would really love for something with Silver Surfer and Galactus to come about, because the technology is there now for the large-scale battles to happen. I know that sometime before they got to this point, that the next plan was to go. They wanted to go cosmic, to explore more outer space. So right now you already got Guardians of the Galaxy established, and now with Captain Marvel, they could go anywhere with that. So who knows what the future holds? But yeah, I think the future is definitely bright, man. I mean, true story. Yesterday I think I was came back with my family, man, and I had to go out to get something. I was just looking up to the stars, and I was like, man, where else can Marvel go? It was like a surreal moment. Like it was like the Endgame in real life. I'm just looking like, man,
Was Captain Marvel out there?
I don't know, man. I don't know. Nah, man. It's just one of the things that you think about, but it's it's crazy, man. I was just thinking out loud, like, man, where could they go? What could they do? Because if you look at the Star Wars movies, other than those first 3 core movies that came out back in the day, things haven't really been, in my opinion, hasn't really been so good for them. And if you look at what Marvel has done, it's the future just looks brighter on that side, especially not only for our generation, but for the generations to come. So the next generation, this time will be remembered, and they probably will do something like that. But we don't know how big the scale is going to be by then.
And I think by taking the time and pacing stuff out, people that may have missed out at the beginning of the whole Marvel legacy will be able to catch back up and realize how great the first Iron Man movie was, or, catch up on Winter Soldier in case they missed out on it. I mean, I know a lot of people have been along for the ride, but it is kind of nice to have the opportunity to catch up on the legacy. It's like you see something like Star Wars The Force Awakens. A lot of people may not realize, there were these great movies that came out in 77, 80, and 83 that kind of led up to this. They think the prequels were how it started. No, not even close. So being able to like have this time to go back and just see like, oh, okay, now this makes sense.
Indeed, yeah. I do think it's a good idea to just do like standalone movies for, maybe the next year or two. And you can have crossovers within those standalone movies, like you can see characters from one property and another, property. So I think that's a good way to do it. But Dana, since, you wanted to ask this question, what's your thoughts on where this is going to go in Phase 4?
Well, like it was previously said, there's going to be a lot of TV shows and upcoming movies behind that. But in terms of the Avengers that we know today is going to change drastically. And I'm very happy that the dude who got fired and then they brought back, who is the writer of Guardians of the Galaxy, who has Brightburn out. I forgot his name.
James Gunn.
And yeah.
Yeah. I'm very happy that they brought James Gunn back because I'm looking forward to Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Yeah, 3. Which is going to be much different. We have Gamora, who doesn't know who any of these people are. And we also have Thor, who I strongly believe is going to join them. And I remember that was also a comic where he joined the Guardians. It was like Asgardians.
Wait,
Asgardians.
Who's Gamora?
What?
Thanos' daughter.
God damn it.
The green girl, man.
Green chick. Zoe Saldana.
Look, this is the only, like, one of the few rooms like that I talked to that would have done what I wanted to do. So like when I said who's Gamora, I expected someone to say, "Wait, what is Gamora?" or like that.
Why is Gamora?
Why is Gamora? I tried. It didn't work, but it was worth a try.
I went over my head.
You need to say, okay, I'm only going to ask this one more time. Where is Gamora?
I got you one better. Who's Gamora?
Got you one better. Why is Gamora?
Why is Gamora? Sorry.
You're fine.
Yeah. Okay, so Thor's gonna join the Guardians of the Galaxy. It's very interesting to see Gamora's not gonna be the same Gamora that we know, and how well she gets along with the team. And then now she and Nebula are, besties. So that should be interesting to watch. I'm not really. The TV shows will be interesting. I know that the WandaVision is supposed to be a 1950s comedy, so to see how they pull that off is piqued my interest because I also know that it's based on one of the comics. So I do look forward to what is going to happen, but I don't think we're going to ever get the scale that we got with Avengers. And also, it's kind of weird because with Thanos, he was supposed to be the big bad god. So to see them going off and, fighting other villains, it just doesn't have that same kind of impact for me. But hopefully they're able to pull it off somehow. So we'll see about that.
There's always the possibility of bringing in a daughter of Thanos. There's Doctor Doom to consider, Galactus. I mean, there are a number of ways that they could go to keep villains interesting. I mean, like Black Widow alone will have the Taskmaster. So, I mean, there is a lot of possibilities there.
Yeah, I would love to see Doctor Doom. And with regards to Wanda, I would love to see a House of M storyline as well. That would be amazing.
That'd be crazy, yeah.
I do want to see again take up the whole Iron Man mantle thing now. I know that. Huh?
Who?
Morgan, his daughter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who's with him. Also, Ronan's daughter. So that we'll probably end up getting the next generation. Their children will be part of the team. Maybe not. But I would like to see that. So I think it'll be interesting. I don't know which way they're going, and they're not revealing anything at all, which I think is really great because they usually don't. You just, they show you what you show you, and you love it anyway.
See, I'm wondering if they'll do anything like MODOK. I wonder if they'll bring him into the universe at some point.
That'd be pretty nuts. That
I think
big
so.
floating head.
Get him voiced like Zach Galifianakis
Yeah.
or something. I don't know.
That'd be nuts.
You could do Mr. Sinister too.
Yeah, there's like I said, a lot of possibilities. I'm eager to see what they do with it.
What was that, Reggie?
They could do Mr. Sinister as well. If they want to go that route, because I think he's a very interesting character. But I will also like to see them do something with Miles Morales. We already got the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which was really awesome. If you guys haven't seen it, it was really awesome.
Oh, it's incredible.
And I would also like to see them do Riri Williams Ironheart. I would love to see them do something with that, because I believe in that comic series, Tony Stark, I forgot what was going on with him, but he was able to mentor her through his consciousness. He was like kind of like Friday, how Friday was the AI for Tony Stark, but it's in like a more like computerized form, I guess, or whatever. So he could talk to him or something like that. So yeah, I think I would like to see that, and I think that Robert Downey Jr. He's not going to do Iron Man again, but the Tony Stark version of him could just pop up in movies wherever, now that he got that freedom.
Like flashback or something.
Yeah, like a flashback or
like a hologram.
Yeah, kind of like Obi-Wan Kenobi and stuff like that. Yeah.
Rich, you've been quiet. Any thoughts on Phase 4 and what you expect?
Oh no, I think a lot of what has been said is I'm definitely looking forward to that. As for the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, I think we can all already have a good idea of the direction they may take that, because I know Adam Warlock was teased at the end of Volume 2, and obviously they still have issues. They have to deal with that character at some point. And then, of course, they're looking for Gamora, and Thor is a part of the team. So I think we definitely can get an idea of a direction that they may take it, unless they go in a different direction. But yeah, looking forward to seeing how they implement that. Of course, what they do with the 20th Century deal also. But other than that, I guess just have to wait and see what these shows are going to be like on Disney Plus, because that's probably the soonest that we'll see new content from Marvel in terms of the Marvel Comics type of characters.
And not to mention that we could see the introduction of Kate in the Hawkeye series, because Kate's supposed to be Clint's successor, if I recall correctly. Kate, yeah. So that could happen too. I mean, like I said, wide open.
Yeah, I would love to see a Wakanda war with Namor, like for Black Panther. Like that would be cool.
I have a question.
Go
Was after the snap, was King of Wakanda ever selected, or what happened with that, or was it just not? It just got brushed aside.
That is a good question. Who was left from Wakanda?
M'Baku.
Was he still there?
Yeah, he was there. He was in the battle. He was in Endgame. So yeah, he survived the snaps and he was in the battle. So I assumed like he was doing something with Wakanda while they were trying to figure out what to do about T'Challa.
Because 5 years seems
that's something for the sequel we might get that addressed in the sequel, because we know Ryan Coogler is coming back for a sequel. So we might get some answers there.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Real quick, Reggie, you had one final question of your own.
Yeah, so I saw some stuff about the Hulk, and I like Smart Hulk in the movie. However, I talked to a couple of my friends, and they were saying that it was kind of the only thing they wish that would happen is if the Hulk could have gotten his run back with Thanos, and I just wanted to know how everybody felt about that.
Yeah, that's one of the things I was expecting. I was expecting like at least some sort of epic brawl between them two again, where Hulk, comes out better. But I don't know if I maybe missed something in the final battle, but I don't think we ever got that part 2 to that brawl.
Yeah, it would have been nice to have seen like Hulk versus Thanos without Thanos having the Power Stone, because I still believe that's how he was able to defeat him. And also, I kind of wanted Hulk to actually Hulk out. He didn't really do that in this movie, so I think that was a missed opportunity for sure.
You know what, though? I think it's made up for in terms of characteristics, because we see Banner come at peace with the frustrations that he was seeing in Infinity War when he couldn't Hulk out. So he eventually just accepted this form where he was himself, but he was still the Hulk, and he was fine with that. He was happy with it. And then we saw this reflection of him when he was talking to the Ancient One. By the way, big shout out for Tilda Swinton coming back. I know a lot of people prefer that the role wasn't Asian, but I still think she did great in the role. And I think when he was having a conversation with her, we saw this confidence back in him. There was confusion by the end of Infinity War. Why won't you Hulk out? Come out, kind of slapping himself, but it almost seems like an Endgame. He was at like peace with himself. And I think a skirmish with Thanos kind of would have jarred that a different way. I mean, it would have been an interesting resolution considering what happened at the beginning of Infinity War, but I think that wasn't really for his character to have that arc. I think that's where Iron Man came in and Captain America smacking him around with a hammer. Like I said, I think there was balance to it. But, I mean, Hulk did have his moments. Bruce Banner had his moments, and even like the Ancient One learned something from Bruce, which we didn't really understand. We weren't expecting that, were we? We weren't really expecting like the Ancient One to have anything other than a higher understanding of how the Time Stone works, and then suddenly realizing, wait a minute, Doctor Strange gave it up for a reason. So I kind of like how that path worked. It would have been great to see Hulk smash him around, but go ahead.
Yeah, that scene was really well done. So I agree. So yeah, let's get to the final question because I don't want this to be as long as Endgame.
Oh yeah.
But so the final question is, what would you rate Endgame? So like, what's your final rating? So I guess we let me see. We'll go a rating out of 5, I guess. So I'll go to you first, Carlos.
Out of 5, I would give it a 4.75 out of 5. Is that fine?
Yeah.
In terms of using decibels.
And is it the best Marvel movie for you? The best MCU movie?
Yes, but I will say this: it's not fair. Especially I was thinking about doing sort of my rankings, my MCU rankings of all the Marvel movies that I've seen. I've seen all of them except Captain Marvel, and I think it's these Avenger movies and Civil War are kind of not fair compared to sort of Guardians and Winter Soldier, because those are just self-contained movies that are like servicing just sort of those characters instead of like a bigger storyline. So yeah, I guess I would say it's probably my favorite. Infinity War was my favorite before that. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. 4.75, I think. I don't know if I were to give it out of 10, maybe like a 9.5. I don't know. It's I'm not good with sort of giving scores, but yeah, if I were to give it something, it would be that.
Yeah, actually, let's go with the 10 rating because I've already seen Tony, so like I want him to be able to expand on that as well. So
I appreciate that, bro. Because I'm like, fuck, what am I gonna rate this shit?
We'll go with the 10. So you said what, Carlos? It was 9 what?
9.5 or 9.75, just in between that range.
Okay, cool. And how about you, Reggie?
A 10. It's no question. A 10.
Okay, and is this the best MCU movie for you?
Yes. Without a shadow of a doubt. But I would say if I had to if I'm doing a ranking right now, just the top 3, it would be Endgame, Infinity War, and then Captain America Civil War. That's how I would go with it, because in my mind, the way I think about it is Infinity War, Endgame could not exist without Infinity War, right? So you have to have it in there, But like I said, if I'm going at the top number one right now, um, Endgame is that is, they set the bar. Like I said, to me, in my opinion, they already had set the bar with the Winter Soldier, and I didn't think that bar could be exceeded. When I saw Infinity War, I said, okay, this is getting close, right? And then when they did Endgame, yeah, it took it over the top, man. Like, so yeah, it's a 10. That's point blank, period.
All right, cool. And how about you, Robert?
You know what? I gave a little bit of thought to this because before this, my top 5 played out like Marvel's The Avengers is my favorite, then Guardians of the Galaxy, then Iron Man, Captain America, Winter Soldier, and Avengers Infinity War. But I mean, Endgame knocked it out of the park for me. Like I said, a couple of minor quibbles here and there, but for the most part, it was a film that kept my attention for 3 hours, didn't have me looking at my phone, kept me intrigued, kept me smiling throughout, and made me feel the moments that it was supposed to. So if I had to give Avengers Endgame something out of 10, I'd give it an 11. Spinal Tap style. I really thought it was amazing. I thought it was a terrific culmination of what has gone down over the last 11 years, and it's amazing. So now it is my favorite Marvel film right now of all time, followed by Marvel's The Avengers, Guardians, Iron Man, and Winter Soldier. I really like how it all came together, and honestly, I can't wait to see it again.
Indeed, and it's the best MCU movie for you, right?
For right now, yeah. I mean, anything could change in the future, but I mean, it's really hard to top.
Indeed. So how about you, Rich?
Well, definitely hard to think about this. No, not really. I also would have to say, I want to say a 9.5. I mean, I definitely could also give it a 10. I mean, really, it's the callbacks. The fact that, if you've seen all the movies and it takes all that into account, and it took into an account in Infinity War and in this movie. So I would say 9.5, but I will also say, yeah, this is for me the best MCU movie to date for now. But yeah, that's my pick.
Cool. And how about you, Dana?
9.99999 for the simple fact that Captain Marvel was basically useless. So that angered me because she was like, "Oh, it's the big strong one, and she's the biggest one of them all. She's gonna defeat." And then all she did was like punch a ship and save Tony, and like that was it. So
she technically she didn't punch it; she flew through the thing twice. So
twice. Iron Man could have did that, but okay.
Just saying.
So she was useless. The whole thing with the cat and the Tesseract. So because of that, it gets a 99999. But I will say this: I appreciate every single thing that they did with this movie, even though they screwed up some parts. And I appreciate how it felt like a movie within a movie. So it was like reliving the past again and just taking us on that journey to remind us of very important events that happened in the previous movies. So I appreciate that very much so, and it would have been that 10 if it wasn't for Captain Marvel.
Okay, and it's the best MCU movie for you?
No.
Which one is?
See, here's the weird thing. I can't count Endgame without saying Infinity. Right. So for me, it's the Infinity Saga. So it's both of them together are tied at number 1. Because without Endgame, without the Infinity War, you won't have Endgame, and vice versa. So yeah, and then without Endgame, you won't have the other events. So for me,
yeah, but you couldn't have either of these movies without Thor: The Dark World.
Yeah, he's got a point.
Yeah.
All right, and how about you, Tony?
Yeah, you know me. I don't give anything 10 out of 10. Nothing's perfect. So my highest score is 9.5 because I also don't like those. 9.6, 9. Like, get the fuck that shit out of here. 9.5. As for is it my favorite Marvel MCU movie? No, that still goes to the first Avengers, just because of the fact that the first Avengers movie I've been waiting for that most of my life, and just seeing all the culmination of that was like seeing that, pretty much like a comic book story arc come to life. So even though I will agree that Infinity War / Endgame, because I really do see it as one movie, is the objectively best MCU movie, it doesn't have that same feel for me, because it's just the Avengers, that same feel like, oh shit, all these characters are finally coming together, but just on a grander scale. But it still doesn't capture that same like sense of awe that I had. And then at the end of Avengers, when you finally see Thanos, I've been waiting to see him on screen for years. So seeing him coming from the page to the screen, that's a feeling I really doubt I will ever see replicated in any film. But yeah, 9.5 for Endgame / Infinity War, but my favorite will always be the original Avengers movie.
Yo, Tony,
what up?
You said you never had that feeling again?
No,
but you didn't get that feeling during Batman versus Superman?
Fuck no, get that shit out of here. Carlos always has to bring this up. Whenever we talk about fucking comic movies, he always brings up that trash ass shit. Always, man. He knows he trolls me, son. He trolls me.
Now I know what to use against Tony on the next podcast.
No, Robert, I will mute your mic.
I will snap you out of existence.
Oh, man.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, my rating is actually 9.5 as well. I feel like my rating might change if I see it again. Like I right now I just really want to see Endgame again. But as it stands now, I wouldn't say it's my favorite. I definitely would put Infinity War just a step above it. But yeah, incredible movie, no doubt, and just the fact that 11 years led up to this film, and they wrapped it up, nice and neat. I think it's a hell of an achievement, and we may never see anything like this done again. So, yeah.
Yo, Gary,
what's up?
Here's the ultimate question: would your rating have gone higher if they used Overwatch instead of Fortnite?
Yeah,
Shit.
Instant 10 right there.
Yo, I'm just gonna say this is like kind of off topic, but my only regret is this movie came at the wrong weekend, man. Because as I was watching it, I had something else on my mind, and I'm even doing this podcast. I have something else on my mind. Game of Thrones. They launched this movie at the wrong fucking time, son. Because as hyped as I was for Endgame, I'm way more hyped for Game of Thrones. But that's a discussion for another day. you know?
That's all we need, man. Is more Starks dropping dead. Thanks a lot.
Right. Yeah, we saw a lot of Starks dying. I'm gonna get over here and start crying like Reggie and shit.
Yo.
Hey, man.
Love you, man. We love you, man.
I'm just giving you a hard time, man. It's definitely the hip hop gamer approach, is all. That's all. It just sounds like.
Yeah, man, we've really been spoiled this week, man. Endgame
Totally.
and then Game of Thrones.
Well, over the past few months, I mean, if we take a look at the past few months in general, we've been spoiled. We've gotten two good DC movies. Some people say Aquaman's that good, but whatever. The best live action Transformers movie, an amazing Spider-Man animated film, Captain Marvel, and now Endgame. We've been getting some great nerd style movies lately. It's really something.
Do you think we're going to see a comic book movie crash, like where there's just going to be too much? It's going to be too saturated?
It's hard to say. It depends on the tone. Because you know how some people, Thor: The Dark World's coming on. I'm going to take a nap, during the 36-hour marathon. Like there'll be some low points, but they're still going to make mad money for, whoever's behind them.
All right. Okay, well, anyone else got anything quickly to bring up before we get out of here? Any final words?
No, man. Go. Obviously, I was gonna say go see the movie. If you're watching this podcast, you haven't seen the movie, unless you're Austin, you're crazy. No. The movie was dope, man. That's all I got to say. It was fucking awesome.
It really leads up to what I'm expecting for Far From Home too, because you're gonna have that whole Stark Fallout thing, and then you're gonna introduce Mysterio into the fold, and that might also help, pave the way for what's coming for Phase 4 as well. If Sony continues to work with Marvel, you never know.
Everyone is pretty sad that Tony Stark is dead, except for Disney, because they don't have to pay Robert Downey Jr. that seemingly amount of money to be in the role.
Oh, they're gonna miss him too, though. I mean, like he's a major draw for the box. I mean, when they did the whole, I love the thing at the end where they did the sign-offs with the original Avengers cast members.
Oh,
And Robert
that
Downey
was
Jr.
awesome.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was incredible, and they topped off with Robert Downey Jr. So
Yeah.
say what you want about him, he earned that money, just like Kevin Feige. Give him a gold Lamborghini each day, because holy shit!
Quick thing. Did you guys stick around after the end credits? Did you hear the hammer and the anvil?
Yeah,
Such a great
yeah.
callback to Iron Man.
It was
Fucking
so
awesome.
good. You didn't even
Yeah.
need like a post-credit scene. People were like, "Well, that's it? No post-credit." Like
Yeah.
that's a callback, son. Are
Yeah,
you
that
not
was
listening?
great. That was great. Yeah, right. Listen with by the way, some people were trolling like, "Yo, you hear Wolverine's claws popping?" It's like, what?
That's Deadpool. He's masturbating.
Oh man.
But yeah, that was our review of Avengers Endgame. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed, talking about it. It's been so hard not to talk openly about it for so long because, we have a few group chats where we've just been waiting for everyone to see the movie and stuff. So it feels great to finally just, talk openly about the film. So this has been great. Thank you everyone for listening. Shouts to everyone who joined in the chat. And just a quick shout to our Patreon supporters, M. Collins, Mauricio Aguilar, Himdil, Fergus Mills, Miguel, Antonio Rogers, and Sean Gority. We appreciate your continued support of the show and everything. And that's pretty much it from us. Until next time. The Co-op podcast will return next week, so look out for that. But that's it. See you later.
Peace.